in color. The continuing story of Peyton Place. Starring Dorothy Malone as Constance Mackenzie, Ed Nelson as Michael Rossi, Ryan O'Neal as Rodney Harrington, Barbara Parkins as Betty Anderson, Tim O'Connor as Elliot Carson, Christopher Connolly as Norman Harrington, Patricia Morrow as Rita Harrington, James Douglas as Stephen Cord.
Martin Peyton's carefully laid plan to break up the marriage of Stephen and Betty Cord is on the verge of succeeding. Betty is moved out of the Peyton house after seeing her husband and Adrienne Van Leyden leaving the Boston Peyton mansion.
Betty, let me in. Betty? Betty?
Mr. Cord.
What is it?
Could I help you? Is there something I can do?
I think I am capable of waking up the world by myself, thank you. Now, Betty, open the door, please. Now, look, we have to talk. Betty, I love you. Always right on the spot, aren't you?
What are you talking about?
Oh, don't play dumb. Now, when you've been hovering around us like a well-bred vulture these past 2 weeks.
Hey, Stephen.
Now, when was it, Rod? When did you decide you wanted her back? When Sandy Weber left town? When things got a bit slow down at the wharf? Or did you just decide you couldn't get through the rest of the year without a romance?
Got things turned around, don't you?
What difference does it make? You got what you're after.
Where's Betty?
You know, the stage lost a great actor when you turned mechanic.
Stephen, where is she?
Oh, don't tell me she didn't keep you posted. Or weren't you headed for the inn?
No, as a matter of fact, I wasn't.
As a matter of fact, you're lying.
You gonna tell me what's going on?
She's left me. That's what's going on. But you did give me fair warning, though, didn't you, Rod? The sportsmanlike gesture always makes things right.
Well, that's more than you gave her. What happened?
I'm sure you'll find out all the details.
I want to know now.
I don't want to tell you now.
She saw you with Adrienne, didn't she?
There's nothing between Adrienne and me, understand? Nothing.
I'm sorry, but I'm not the one that you have to convince.
There you are, son.
What are you gonna do?
She loves me not. She loves me.
Hey, I can't wear that.
Why not?
They don't do it anymore.
Maybe that's because they can't carry it off, huh? Come on. Hey, wharf looks pretty good today.
I love it this time of year.
But of course, there's no Champs-Élysées. No, there is a place for walking. Beautiful trees, cafes, lovely ladies. C'est magnifique.
You've really been all over, haven't you?
Uh-huh.
She's pretty.
Yeah, quite a babe. But nothing like the one I'm expecting soon.
But what about...
Oh, so I'm married. What's that got to do with it? Honey, the beautiful babe I'm expecting is the one who'll be calling me Grandpa pretty soon, huh?
Oh, you're awful.
And speaking of Grandpas, do you and Norman ever get up to see Mr. Peyton?
No, we don't see him often.
I think he likes you.
Why do you say that?
Well, I saw him stop and talk to you up there on the road.
Yeah, he says hello to us and everything.
Come on, let's go aboard. Topside, right? Grandpa very well. He was a straw boss in a railroad tin shop. He was a feisty old man, you know. I never really got to know him. I figured he didn't want me around. Then he died. And I saw the inside of his room and how lonely he'd been. I've been sorry ever since.
That's sad.
Yeah. The old man was too proud to force himself on us, and we just thought he wanted to be left alone. I wonder if the same doesn't go for Mr. Peyton. Having a lot of money doesn't make any difference, you know. Loneliness is loneliness.
No, he doesn't need us. He's too busy playing games with other people's lives.
Well, maybe that's because he's never really been included in theirs.
Why are you so worried about Mr. Peyton all of a sudden?
I'm not. I'm only worried how Rita Jax Harrington will feel when she gets to be my age and starts looking back. Regrets are hard to live with, Rita.
Yes, I know.
Well, I got a little business to take care of. Same time tomorrow?
If you want.
Goodbye, honey.
Bye, Gramps.
This is Eddie. I gotta see you today.
What's the rush?
My daughter... Well, it's something we gotta discuss. I'll drop by your office.
No, you won't.
We're gonna see each other, Max. What's your convenience?
I have some things to do down at the loading dock. I'll be in your area around 8:30 tonight.
Around 8:30.
I'll leave the loading dock and drive up the road behind the tavern. We may run into each other.
Talk. Ah, that's better. Hiding isn't your style. Have you slept? No, of course not. Not even eaten. I shouldn't wonder.
When you're all done with your gloating.
Gloating? There's nothing further from my thoughts. You have my full sympathy and whatever help I can offer.
Thanks, but you've done enough already.
Close the door. We don't need the traveling salesman to be party to our discussion.
We have nothing to discuss.
Your future?
I can manage.
Without my advice and assistance?
Yes.
I've always admired your spirit, your independence, Betty, but now's the time to be practical. Oh, very well for you to turn your back on me as long as you can say I'm Mrs. Stephen Cord and intend to remain Mrs. Stephen Cord, but I assume that is no longer your intention. If you remain with Stephen now, it'll only be out of pride. The same sort of stubborn pride that caused you to stake your loyalty on a man who wasn't worthy of it.
You've made your point. Or rather, Adrienne's made it for you.
Yes, I'm afraid she has.
Don't be a hypocrite. This is exactly what you wanted.
Hardly.
What about that detective's report that found its way into my husband's hands with that fantastic will of yours? Haven't you done everything in your power to break up my marriage?
And the irony of it is that I failed. Fate stepped in and accomplished what I couldn't.
Fate? In the convenient person of Mrs. Adrienne Van Lyck.
You mustn't forget that Adrienne is my fiancée. You're not the only injured party in this affair. It's understandable that you should want to shift the blame from Stephen's shoulders onto mine, but it's not where it belongs.
You brought Adrienne into our lives.
Oh, well, Stephen's a grown man and responsible for his actions. It's not my duty to shield him from temptation. Why don't you sit down?
You twist things around you. You make them so complicated.
It's It's really quite simple. You either forgive Stephen and stay married to him, or you don't.
And your suggestion, of course, is that I don't.
Oh, the decision's entirely yours, my dear. But it's my opinion that this marriage is doomed to failure. Therefore, the sooner it ends, the better, before there's any further damage done, and while there's still hope for you and Rodney. You and Rodney belong together, and you both know it.
You'll never give up, will you?
I'm merely asking you to weigh up every consideration and then do as you think you should.
How could you forgive Adrienne?
Well, that's not a fair comparison. Our cases are very different. I mean, at my age, I'm far beyond the angry passions of youth. Besides, Adrienne had the decency to confess what had happened and ask me for forgiveness.
What else could she do?
Whereas I gather Stephen is doggedly but stupidly still maintaining his innocence.
Stephen knows I could never forgive him.
Yes, he knows you so well that to regain your trust, he tells this transparent lie.
Would you think Adrienne's sorry? She's only sorry she was caught.
Whereas your Stephen is properly guilty and suitably penitent. I'm sure he is. My dear, if that's all that's bothering you, then the sooner you come home, the better.
Why do you say all that's bothering me?
Well, Adrienne isn't a disease, you know. She's merely a symptom. Your husband's ruling passion is his hatred for me. His love for you is a very poor second. So if you go back to him, there'll only be a further outbreak in a different form, perhaps, but equally destructive.
Stephen might have learned his lesson.
Well, if you're willing to gamble on that, put your clothes in a suitcase and I'll drive you straight home. But do it with your eyes open. Take Stephen as he is, not as you wish he were. Shall I tell Weber to come and fetch his bag?
No.
Oh, you want to play the full drama of reconciliation, do you? With Stephen pleading at the door, being sent away, coming back, being admitted, and eventually forgiven?
There'll be no reconciliation.
Ah, then I have another idea. How would you like Weber to drive you up to Boston this afternoon and have a talk with my attorney, eh?
You mean file today for divorce?
No, you don't have to start any formality. He's the lawyer. He'll advise you. Yes, I'll phone Kennelly and tell him to expect you.